What's up, everybody? I'm Brad Mines, your host. Welcome to episode 19 of the Halving Report. The price of Bitcoin is approximately $5,200 American dollars, timestamped on March 17th, 10:30 p.m. There's approximately 55 days left until the next Bitcoin halving, but today we're jumping right into an interview with none other than Litecoin Moses. I just want to thank you for coming on to the show. I was just on Twitter, actually, and I saw there was a video from in California, like a Costco line, like wrapped around the building, like several times, like and down and around the road. Are you experiencing any of the COVID-19 fright right now?
Yeah, we are.
Is it real where you are?
Kind of. Well, what ended up happening is that where I'm from in California, a cruise ship with a lot of people that had coronavirus were quarantined into a hotel, and all the hotel workers of that place got let go. That's kind of what started it over here in Monterey, where I'm from.
Yeah.
And the Costco in the area has just over the weekend been having usually like anywhere from 100 people outside the door. Not around the building, but that 100 people is still a good chunk.
Yeah, that's a lot of people. Sorry, you said that the hotel let their workers go?
Yeah, they had to let them go so they wouldn't get infected. And they pretty much, I think the government, because there's military buildings in this area, they pretty much said, get the fuck out of here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you personally concerned over this since this episode? Everywhere I look, everybody's talking about it.
No, I'm not really that worried about it. I mean, once you got your supplies and stuff, I mean, whatever comes pretty much. What this virus really does affect is mostly older people. And I was calling this kind of like a boomer killer. Boomer
remover is what I see trending on Twitter.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's possible. I mean, I was sick like 2 weeks ago, so it's possible I could have got it and got better already.
Some people are thinking that here too. Like, it's been going around to where I am as well. I've had it bad twice, where it's actually to the point where I had to not go into my day job on 2 separate occasions. So some people think that here. I'm not quite convinced, but just because of the origins of it and everything like that. Anyways, we'll talk about crypto because that's what we came here to talk about today. For all the listeners, why do you call yourself Litecoin Moses? Are you a religious person?
The reason I call myself Litecoin Moses is because I got into the crypto community. The first community I ever found were the Litecoin family, and at the time it was just like the maximalists, and you had like some of the Ethereum people, and like the space was way smaller back then. And other than the Doge people, I mean, it was this Litecoin, and then out of all the communities, it was pretty much the nicest community around, where like they would help people. If you even mentioned that you liked anything other than Bitcoin, you were ostracized from the Bitcoin community. You know, outside of like Andreas Antonopoulos and stuff, which was a nice guy and stuff, a lot of the other Bitcoiners weren't that nice to especially to a new person coming to the space. Now there's so many people into other altcoins that, I mean, they'd be pretty stupid to do that to somebody.
Yeah, no kidding. So is it because it's sort of Litecoin, sort of a revolt to the Bitcoin community, or is there something special about Litecoin besides the community in terms of how it works that's more appealing to you?
What I like about Litecoin is that it's 2 cycles behind Bitcoin, essentially. So it's a really cool way to like be able to buy, like a lot of people, like one of the reasons Litecoin got so big was because it basically had the same factors as Bitcoin, except with 4x the supply, and the price was much lower. So a lot of people who felt like they missed the boat and everything were able to get into Litecoin for a cheaper price per share, and accumulate some coins. Where like at the time, right, when Litecoin was $4, Bitcoin was about like $2,000. So a lot of people coming in new to the space couldn't really accumulate. Obviously you of course, you always get a Bitcoin. Even Charlie Lee says that. Get your first Bitcoin before you even start dabbling into some other coins. But it was just really cool. And then what Litecoin does is it helps Bitcoin out. It's kind of like a really powerful test net. So you get all the newest technology on Litecoin first before you get it on Bitcoin. And yeah, I mean, so if it works on Litecoin, because Litecoin does about $1 billion a day in transactions.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Litecoin network's really huge. Yeah, a lot of people use Litecoin because it's still one of the fastest way to move money from exchange to exchange. I mean, I still do. I mean, you send money from Bitcoin to one exchange, you're waiting somewhere between 15 to 20 minutes for your Bitcoin to hit the exchange. On the Litecoin, it'd take you like 2 minutes. 3 minutes to get it.
Yeah. No, I've used it before. It is really fast. So what are the major differences then? So you said that the supply is there's more supply, and it's got a faster block.
Yeah. So the usual block time on rewards for Bitcoin, there's a block reward every 10 minutes. So imagine every 10 minutes, program cycles through the block and then gives out about whatever the reward of Bitcoin is at that time to all the miners, and that's every 10 minutes. So in every 10 minutes, it processes all those transactions. Okay. in Litecoin, every 2 minutes and 30 seconds, so it's 4 times faster, it does the transactions and gives out the block reward. So because the block time is 4 times faster, it makes Litecoin 4 times faster than Bitcoin in terms of transactions. So you get 4 times more speed and more transactions on Litecoin. And what Litecoin did in order to do this was, instead of going with the regular mining algorithm that Bitcoin has, it went with one that's a little harder, called Script, that it makes it harder for big mining companies to come in and control it all. So it's harder to get 51% attacked. Where in Bitcoin, they're going for more of the let's get the most horsepower we can in this, in terms of just like algorithm machines, ASIC miners. So no one can 51% attack it. But as obviously you know this already, the Bitcoin mining is pretty centralized in Chinese miners.
Right. So is there any sort of centralization within Litecoin? Like, is there a certain country where predominantly is Litecoin mining, or
it looks like South Korea and the United States, where previously during 2017 it actually was Chinese, but the Chinese miner, it was a big company back, Bitcoin mining company in China, that basically they bet on the whole Bitcoin Cash side, and they started divesting on a lot of these coins because they were hemorrhaging cash. So it got a lot more diversified across the world in terms of mining. Or for Litecoin, at least, where Bitcoin, it just got more centralized. The other difference between Bitcoin and Litecoin is because it's 4 times faster, they also added 4 times more coins. So on Bitcoin, you have 21 million Bitcoin. On Litecoin, you have 84 million Litecoins. So you have 4 times more coins, and it's 4 times more faster.
Very interesting. So are there any other major differences besides what you've already explained? Yeah.
Basically, Litecoin was a clone, essentially, of Bitcoin. So pretty much anything that Bitcoin comes out with, Litecoin can instantly use. So this is like a big cost saving. So anything that's really good for Bitcoin is good for Litecoin, and anything that's very good for Litecoin can be used for Bitcoin. It's very interchangeable. So if something were to attack, let's just say if there was a hack on Bitcoin, like an inflation bug, they're more likely to attack Bitcoin with that inflation bug than attack Litecoin, because it's like the big money's in Bitcoin, obviously. So you're able to soft fork the Litecoin network to not to have that bug anymore by the time they roll over here to the Litecoin network. And then this is like eventually with all the updates rolling on Litecoin will be rolled on to Bitcoin. Right now, like the big thing between the networks right now is that the Bitcoin network is kind of betting on the Lightning network, where Litecoin is more betting on something that's on chain, which is called like Mimblewimble, that will give like private transactions that Bitcoin actually like really, really needs.
Right. And you're saying that being on chain is superior than a network built on top of a protocol like Lightning.
At least for this sort of steps. In the future, eventually we will have to do some kind of off scale, a side chain sort of like a scaling. But there's a lot more stuff we can do on chain that will really secure it. So here's the problem right now with Bitcoin is that if I send you a Bitcoin, you'll see you can look through the network and you can tell how much Bitcoin I have in my wallet. So let's just say I was an employer and I'm paying you. Like, let me pay you your 1 Bitcoin for the month. Here you go. Boom. Thanks. And then you're able to check my wallet to see how much Bitcoin I have in that wallet. Normally, like when someone writes you a check or gives you cash, they can't tell how much money you have in your wallet or your bank account. So what's going to be added on Litecoin with Mimblewimble is a very light privacy feature where they just can't tell how much money you have in an account. It's just simple little stuff like that. And then along with that, it also gives it's really powerful because depending on what kind of a Bitcoin wallet you use or what kind of a Litecoin wallet you can use, you can get really crazy level of privacy, to like Monero level of privacy. But on the exchanges, you get very light privacy. So it's kind of like pick your own adventure in terms of the privacy. But on the exchanges, it'll be very light. Like on the exchanges, a person you're transacting with can't see how much Bitcoin or Litecoin you're sending, but the exchanges and the government can. But if you were to send your Litecoin to a wallet that's very private, they can't see anything at all.
Sounds like there's a lot of interesting development in the Litecoin world.
And so we're hoping this gets adopted by Bitcoin. I mean, once it's proven on Litecoin, because Litecoin's a pretty big network, it gets used a lot. I mean, it just recently the Litecoin Foundation did a deal with basically the largest ATM provider in South Korea. It just got added on to basically 18,000 ATMs in South Korea. It's pretty much it's pretty much almost every single ATM in South Korea is now you can just take out Bitcoin or Litecoin, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I mean, even north of the border, up in here in Canada, all the Bitcoin machines I've been to, you can buy Litecoin as well as Ethereum. Those are the main three here on our machines. When I was on your podcast, I was pressing a little bit about the development in Litecoin, and one of the criticisms I hear is that there's not a whole lot of developers working on the protocol, and that reflects on GitHub.
Yeah. So on GitHub, they don't post much on GitHub. They post on a different one. Maybe I can link you it a little bit after the show, so I can find it for you. But but to tell you the truth, they don't need to. They don't develop much. They don't need to develop much because whatever things they kind of develop that work on Bitcoin is just taken and put onto Litecoin. But this whole Charlie Lee has kind of just seen that, like, what's Bitcoin missing, and then through community funding, we've been getting people from the Grin network to help us develop something that can be soft forked in. This is the most important thing: is the stuff that being developed on Litecoin is not a hard fork; it's a soft fork. It's sort of like updating a patch, so it won't cause anything like what ended up happening with the whole debacle with Bitcoin Cash and SV, because as you can tell, essentially these miners are so against each other. And everyone is just so mad at each other. So you have to make whatever update, it has to be a soft fork update, not a hard fork update. Because if it's a hard fork update, you're going to have a huge problem again in the Bitcoin network, because these guys can't decide with each other. It's just, there's a lot of greed in these Bitcoin miners, where right now one of the beauties of Litecoin is because Charlie Lee is still around. It's sort of like you still have, it's like, imagine you still have Satoshi saying, hey, this is a good idea to do this, and the whole community is like, okay, and they do it.
What do you think about Charlie Lee selling all of his Litecoin?
I mean, the big conspiracy theory behind it was kind of more of a forced action, not to get, basically not for him not to be personally sought after through a government agency. The same thing kind of happened to the leader or the creator of Dogecoin, Jackson Palmer.
Okay, yeah.
Dogecoin was doing very well, and then out of nowhere, he just takes a complete 180, saying, like, I hate Dogecoin, I'm not developing anything anymore. And what a lot of people are thinking and debating what happened is that he got a knock on the door saying, if you don't, a cease and desist letter, essentially saying, if you don't stop trying to create some kind of a digital currency, we're gonna come after you, essentially. And what I think one of the reasons why Charlie was able to last out for as long as he did is because he was protected by Coinbase, and where Jackson Palmer, he was just like, some guy who made this in his house, essentially. This wasn't. Of course, Charlie Lee made the coin in his house too, but then he attached the entire project to Coinbase, which ended up becoming pretty much the biggest exchange in North America. And this kind of gave him some protection, but even then, this is kind of the thing. I mean, I'm not too mad that he sold, to tell you the truth, but he was very honest when he did it. A lot of founders for a lot of other coins would not have done the same. They would have just dumped on you, and you wouldn't even have known about it.
Oh, but you're saying because he made it public, it was
scrutinized more. But it's just like this happens all the time with everybody, with all these other projects. You don't hear when Tron, like Brad Garlinghouse, dumps so much XRP every single month just to keep his company afloat, and he's starting to get shit for it. For a long time, no one was giving him shit for it. They've been doing that since the beginning. The Tron founder, how much money he's wasted of his like investors' money, and Tron he personally controls, and the company controls inside of these contract wallets that he's spending on a bunch of frivolous things. He spent like, I don't know, like what is it, like $3-4 million just to eat with Warren Buffett. Just all these random things.
Which ended up being a big waste of money because he didn't convince Warren Buffett of anything, did he?
Not really. No, I mean, it was just press, essentially. And then he's buying companies and stuff. I mean, do you know, like, here's a big thing that people don't know, that, like, do you know the cryptocurrency Neo?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So Neo, there was two big bidding for the company of BitShares. So they were bidding for this company, right? And the reason they were bidding for this company is because nobody was paying attention to them. So they eventually, what ended up happening is that Tron essentially just won through money and won this company, and they kept them kind of in the top 20. Because Neo at the time, both of them were pretty much neck and neck. Neo and Tron were neck and neck. And because Tron won this company, they were able to stay in the top 20, where, Neo basically dropped down to the 40s and 50s and 60s and lost a lot of market share, essentially. So, I mean, sometimes it is good to be able to have this kind of money, but it's like a lot of other projects aren't scrutinized to the level of course, Litecoin, because there's a lot of projects that are very jealous. But people always tend to forget that before Litecoin, there hadn't been a single altcoin that had survived. Litecoin was the first altcoin to prove that you can last, and it was a truly decentralized thing where Charlie mined his his Litecoin just like Satoshi did his Bitcoin, and let a lot of people know about it to mine it and everything. And like Charlie wasn't gifted his Litecoin; he had to earn it, and he also had to buy it with his own money to acquire what he had. And where a lot of other founders just instantly give themselves money and give themselves tons of coins. So I mean, there's a lot of people who throw a lot of shade towards him and stuff, and then they don't talk about all the money that the Ethereum developers have lost, which is in the tens of millions of dollars through errors and stuff. And I personally even asked Charlie Lee himself how many coins have been lost. Because you've heard that whole thing with Bitcoin, that Bitcoin had over 3 million Bitcoin have been lost, right? And at least, right? So I asked Charlie Lee the same thing, and he told me it was well under 1 million Litecoin. So it's in comparison to Bitcoin, it's like if Bitcoin only lost under 200,000 Bitcoin, which is compared to 3 million. So it's just to show that they learned from a lot of the mistakes of Bitcoin did, and they didn't do this because they were originally trying to do a bunch of smart contracts on Bitcoin that ended up failing essentially, and they would lose like, oh, I lost 1,000 Bitcoin on the contract. Oh well, who cares? And then now that's worth a lot of money. These Bitcoin that are lost into the ether.
So I know you said that Litecoin's developing this Mimblewimble type of thing for privacy, but as of right now, is Litecoin a transparent coin like Bitcoin?
Yes.
Can I go and see exactly how much there is and all the wallets and everything?
Okay. Yeah. You'll always be able to tell roughly what's going on, wallets and everything. But what we're adding to it is like if you were just to look from a bird's eye view, you're going to always be able to see the network, how many coins are transacting, are wallets moving or not. But what the difference is right now, imagine like a bird's eye view, but there's no roofs on the house. So everyone can see who's in the house and what everyone has in the house. What we're adding to the system is like a little bit of privacy, essentially, just enough, so people don't know how much money you're transacting with. But the system is always going to know how many Litecoin are going to be in that are circulating around, because you can't hide 1,000 Litecoin transacting to one wallet, but then once you get to the wallet, you don't know how much Litecoin is in that wallet.
I do want to move on to you a little bit more now.
No, of course.
So, Litecoin Moses, you're the host of the Dollar Cost Crypto podcast. What inspired you to start podcasting?
I just got really bored of a lot of the people I was listening to. I mean, it just got so dry, man. Like everything was just like, so what's going on in the like there was no like I know I gave the corporate speech a little minute ago about Litecoin, but I just had to give out all the PowerPoints. But imagine that was kind of PowerPoints, but it was just with a more even tone, like lower voice. And yeah, this is like everyone's just trying to sound so much smarter than they actually are. Like there's no fun in any conversations. There's no like
is that a downfall in the Litecoin community?
Well, they've gotten better. I mean, it's mostly a Bitcoiner sort of thing, because most people come into the space and they're listening to Bitcoiner podcasts and stuff. I mean, like John Kim has a really cool podcast and stuff, and his stuff is really fun. He just got into a street fight actually. He got a bunch of broken. Yeah, he got. I think he got jumped or something, and he won the fight, but he ended up in the hospital with a bunch of broken ribs. He's like, he's basically like the chief advertising guy for the Litecoin Foundation, and he ended up winning the street fight and everything. Wow. Yeah, I think
that's crazy, man.
They're out here hustling, man, in a bunch of Asian countries, just trying to get Litecoin adoption.
Well, respect to the guy who got jumped but still won the fight. That's crazy. So, do you identify as a libertarian, like many Bitcoiners do?
Kind of. I'm a little more Republican, I guess. But I mean, just don't be a cunt.
Yeah, that's a good outlook.
Like I'm libertarian in some things, I'm socialist in other things. I'm Republican in this, I'm Democrat on that, and I'm like whatever on some other. You have to be. I mean, not every issue isn't black and white, and every issue is. There's just some stuff like obviously I'm against people going to jail for bogus drug crimes. It's like for a little bit of weed.
Yeah.
Like why does your life get destroyed for that? Obviously, right. But I do believe if like you're selling drugs to kids, yeah, that's bad. You know what I mean? There's nuance and stuff. But the nuance, laws are so cut and dry. There should be there's wiggle room in terms of severity of what happened. Like there's got to be some common sense and stuff. And sometimes the law just. Not to get a sale, but just basically to get another body in the jail system.
Oh, definitely. And in regards to the war on drugs, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I'm actually for legalization and regulation of most drugs, I would say. I mean, starting with marijuana. It seems pretty crazy that, I think the culture in America is legalization of marijuana is 100% the way to go.
The states are heading towards it right now, and it's proved it. I mean, places like Colorado and California are making hand over fist. Like California right now would be in a fucking what do you call it, like a budget deficit right now, if it wasn't for marijuana tax receipts, because of the marijuana tax. I mean, the taxes on weed in California are insane. It's like 30%, 40%. It's crazy amount of tax. It's crazy.
It's wild that they don't just federally legalize it like right away and just and start that production. And especially when you're in such a hard time like this, wouldn't it be so advantageous to just legalize it nationally and then be able to build a plan from there?
What would happen is that you would end up closing a lot of jails, and then the jailers unions wouldn't, like, there wouldn't be any more jailers. I mean, really, I mean, most people that are in jail are not there for violent crimes; they're in for drug-related charges. So if you take that out, you've just taken out 2/3 of the jail population. So you'd have to close down like 2/3 of jails.
So it's private prisons. Yeah, is the issue.
Yeah, of course. I mean, like
that's insanity.
Yeah, but it's always the money. That's why the way I invest is I always kind of follow the money. I just kind of see where things are going. Like. It's like it's easy to kind of tell, because so many people. I mean, like let's just say a person here in California. If you are a CO, right, a CO in the jail, it's a terrible job, but I mean, people do it to provide for their family. They make like 80,000 with overtime, maybe 120,000 a year.
Wow. Yeah. No, it's a lot of money, and a lot of people depend on their jobs in the system. It's a very, very tough transition to it puts America in a tough spot when you have so many industries that are conflicting like that.
Full benefits, and a pension maybe one day when you retire. So it's that you don't hear that very often. That's why people are very protective of it. But it's a terrible. I mean, it's you're babysitting adults. Yeah. To swing back to crypto, so I do call my show the Halving Report. So I like to ask my guests what your take is on the upcoming Bitcoin halving and how, if you think it will affect the price and the market in general. Well, yeah, I think it's a positive. Actually, I think it'll actually provide the floor for this the little crypto crash we're having right now in Bitcoin. I think right now, because of I think how much Bitcoin are sold a day. I think it's like $500,000 of Bitcoin are sold every hour. So with the halving, that's cutting it down to $250,000 in terms of sales. So it just in that front alone, it just puts way less selling pressure on Bitcoin overall. I mean, apps like the Cash App and things are already buying about 40% of the total mining supply every single day. The Cash App. The Cash App itself, which is Jack Dorsey's app. It's probably the cheapest way to buy Bitcoin. Where you're there's apps like Robinhood where it's like you pay no fees really on it. So that's the cheapest. But the problem with something like Robinhood is that you can't move your Bitcoin off exchange. Where on the Cash App, you once you buy a Bitcoin on the Cash App, you're able to actually move it over to our hardware wallet, which is kind of cool. But compare that in terms of, this is just the United States and Canada, probably the cheapest fee-wise way to buy Bitcoin. But you can only buy Bitcoin on the Cash App. So it's kind of a cool way where like Jack Dorsey's not letting any other cryptos in there just yet. And it kind of just focuses a lot more buying. It's a really popular app.
Is Jack a total maximalist?
Total maximalist.
Yeah.
Just a maximalist. Yeah, I think one day he'll turn over to probably to Litecoin and a couple other coins and stuff and everything. He feels a certain type of way, I think, about Ethereum because it's basically become sort of a monopoly where like all the old Ethereum devs and a bunch of the early investors pretty much just keep rolling out new coins and giving themselves like a large percentage of the coin supplies. And like every project that's on Coinbase, essentially, like they only release Ethereum projects because with these Ethereum projects, they get coins from the rip. They just put contracts out, and then as the projects get big, then they get to cash out on their coins that they essentially got for nothing. So it's rackets essentially now. Like the Coinbase game is like their Ethereum heads.
So the Cash App buying Bitcoin of 40. How much did you say? 40%.
40% of all the mining supply. So all the Bitcoin that's mined per day, they're buying 40% a day. After the halving, that means just if on current buys, you're talking about 80% of all the Bitcoin that's mined around the world every single day is bought by the Cash App. Just the Cash App, not including any other apps at all. So you're going to start seeing a supply shock, which will end up taking about a month or two, because you're going to get a lot of miners that turn off and that end up having to sell all the Bitcoin they have in order to cover their losses. But that's why I'm saying the halving is going to kind of give us. I'm not sure. Like, to tell you the truth, we could hit 3K in the next couple days, maybe even 2K. The halving is in May 12th. So it's not that far away. And then once that starts happening, that'll give us the floor. And the miners can't survive at these prices. Like the average miner around the world, electric cost is about like $5,000 per Bitcoin. So right now they're hemorrhaging cash right now.
So they're just going to be in a position where they're forced to hold on to the Bitcoin for longer periods of time, waiting for higher prices.
Exactly. They're going to restrict supply, and then I'm pretty sure Jack and a bunch of the other apps are just looking anywhere to anyone, and they're probably going to start paying premiums to people who hold a lot of coins and whales. Hey, sell us a percentage and we'll pay you 10% above market, and then that'll start raising the prices up. Just because there's eventually the prices like just like capitalism, the prices just have to keep going up until eventually people that hold it are like, you know what, I'll let go some of my Bitcoin for 12,000 because I bought it 3K.
Yeah, so Jack's doing quite a bit for mass adoption for Bitcoin Core, I guess.
as much as he can. He's kind of hamstrung and stuff like that. He's like, he added every time you say hashtag Bitcoin, it has its own special little symbol, which is kind of cool.
And you probably won't see one for crypto or blockchain or any other cryptocurrency in the near future.
Yeah, I mean the reason like all the important news in crypto happens on Twitter first before anywhere else is because platforms like YouTube are deep platforming. Just yesterday they just announced they're going to be going. They've actually fired a lot of people from reviewing videos, and they're just using algorithms to shut stuff off, and they're coming after crypto YouTuber videos. Like, I just got one of my live streams taken down because just because I was just a crypto thing. We didn't cuss or anything. We were just talking there for 2 hours, talking about the HEX cryptocurrency, and we got taken down, and as well as Richard Hart the next day, and a lot of other YouTubers. People like Ivan on Tech has 2 strikes against his channel. He's a really big YouTuber. If he gets one more strike, his entire channel is gone. The last social media that accepts us as an industry is Twitter, and I guess Telegram and Discord. But the only real social media we have right now is Twitter, essentially. Like, we got nothing else. I mean, Facebook would cut our ads and didn't let us post anything. Instagram, it's just shithead influencers, basically people just doing paid groups. I mean, the last front is. But
before even crypto related media was banned from YouTube and Facebook and everything, that wasn't Twitter always kind of the big crypto space and crypto news area?
It was because more written. I mean, the one of the reasons why Twitter got a little bigger in crypto is because a lot of the people in Twitter are kind of just nerds. I mean, especially the early guys. So like, Instagram's more of it's more of just how you look sort of thing, and more narcissistic and showing pictures and stuff of yourself. Where a lot of crypto is super private, and
it's just words. It's more of like a deeper conversations happen. I feel like on Twitter. I totally agree. I've had Instagram for a long, long time, and I never had Twitter, but I'm so glad I got Twitter. I find it way more better, useful, right? Way more opportunities, and like you said, it's less vain. Like where Instagram is just about posting pictures and selfies about your highlights of your life or of yourself. Whereas Twitter, I mean, we're coming to have like real conversations, and
it's way hard. Like if you were to count a follower on Twitter versus a follower on Instagram, there's more activity with a Twitter follower than an Instagram follower, because a lot of people just follow each other, but they're not really doing anything with the followers. Where people on Twitter a little bit more. I mean, people still spam stuff. I mean, a lot of people follow a lot of like meme channels and stuff. But I mean, if 10,000 followers on Twitter is a lot harder than 10,000 on Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, even myself, I'm not like a big fish in the pond or anything, but like on Instagram all the time, fake accounts. Everyone's a professional Forex trader. It's very easy. Back. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's very easily identifiable, though, probably for guys like you and I, anyways. But yeah, no, it's very, very apparent. Do you want to let my listeners know where to find you and where to find your podcast?
So you can find me on Litecoin Moses HEX on Twitter. In my header, I have the where you can find my podcast, but you can find my podcast anywhere. Just dollar cost crypto. It's going to be like a shirtless guy with a Litecoin for a head, holding an Ethereum and a Bitcoin.
It's really cool.
Really hard to miss. Really hard to miss. I think it's really apparent. I talk a lot about HEX, and Decentraland, and a lot of NFTs, a lot of the coolest kind of I'm into a lot of projects that are small cap right now, but have a lot of room to grow, and they're more games based. But the reason I preach dollar cost crypto is you buy a little bit at a time. Like what a lot of people end up doing is they get into something and they throw all their available capital at it, and then the price goes down, and then they put more money than they should have into a market, and they sell, and they've essentially just lost money. Where if you're just adding a little bit of money every day, you end up catching a lot of lows, and you're able, just watching the market over months, you figure out like, oh, this price is really low, this is a good price to buy in, and then when the price recovers back up, you're sitting on a lot more profits than you would if you just invested in one shot. You basically have to get lucky for most new investors to just buy at the right time, which most people will not do.
Yeah. Well, that's a great reason to call your podcast the Dollar Cost Crypto Podcast. Thanks again, Litecoin Moses, for coming on the Halving Report, episode 19. I'm sure we will talk again.
No problem. And, check out my live stream every Sunday, Moon Gang, on Cultivate Crypto's YouTube channel. I'll have you on there one day.
All right. Moon Gang, that sounds awesome. All right, man. I'm in.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to episode 19 of the Halving Report.